Hello everyone, and welcome back to my playthrough series of Fragile Dreams Farewell Ruins of the Moon. I'm your host Crazy0100, and we're continuing where we left off from the previous episode. I defeated at least one boss in the last episode, and we're now continuing our search for the silver-haired girl. Essentially doing a little more backtracking. Nothing new there. But we essentially have to go back to where we last saw her, where she was locked in that cage area. So, unless anything really spectacular happens here, I'm just gonna skip right to it. Oh, actually, here's an item that I missed. Okay, we're just about there. I think it was at the end of this hall. Yeah. Okay, so she was last here.
Enter this code into that keypad. 1004. It's his birthday. He was always distant and cold on the surface. But he had a tender side, too.
Who?
It doesn't matter. Just enter the code already. Alright, let's go.
Okay. So this whole time, she knew the code, never told me, and we could have caught up to the silver-haired girl a long time ago. Crazy. I don't know. It's sort of weird that she kept that from us. Okay, let's see what we got.
Achoo! I hope I'm not getting sick. Wow, very cool.
Okay, so I got two of those. Well, if it's not a very reliable weapon, what's the point? I'm just gonna put that stuff away.
Feel free to ask should you ever have any need for my services.
Frankly, I should just sell it to him, but I'll hold on to it.
I look forward to our next meeting.
Yeah, I'm putting these away. I'll put one longbow away, but I'll keep one out. And then I'm gonna take out one more golf club. I'll put it there. Probably should grab some food too. I'll take one of these. It doesn't do a lot of health, but it's decent. Okay. Continuing on. Of course, we got a bunch of different paths to take. Let's go down here real quick. Oh, Jesus. Let me stand over here so I can get a better look at it. Oh, these are red ones that are going to be a little different. I still hear one. Probably down this hallway, I assume. No, it's probably this one. Oh. Oh. Dang it. I always mess up the timing. Okay. That took care of that. So really there was nothing worth checking down there other than one item. Guess we'll check out this way. It's probably more of the same. Well, actually, this looks like it does something different. Okay, nothing really here. Check the earth side. And ignore the enemies. What's that image? God, I completely missed them. That's the first time one's attacked me while the other is doing stuff. That is pretty weird. Don't assume your life is your own. Huh. Weird. Okay, a few mystery items. Gonna go back to the bonfire real quick, and then we'll continue on. Okay, let's check out what I got.
Oh, man. Wow, very cool.
Spear.
Dawn was just about to break, and the subdued rays of morning light were finally spreading across the sky. I was taking my time, strolling through the bustling scene of the early hours. The clamor hurt my ears. Angry shouts rang from the main street, while flirts could be heard in the alleys. I avoided the hubbub on my way. Just being in a foul place like this made me remember the life I'd led. There was a shop with its door propped open. The music that wafted from within was not what you'd consider uplifting. The sign by the entrance was half shrouded in dark. The word Sylvia adorned it.
Boss, I think you've had enough,
A sweet voice said from behind the bar. The bartender was a long-haired woman in a sleeveless dress who was leaning against the wall.
I know it's up to you, but I think you've been hitting the bottle hard lately.
The voice was young and lilted. like that of a male cat calling to a female.
I think it might not.
Rika?
A glass clattered hard against the bar's surface, cutting her off. Silence followed.
Fine. Don't listen to me then.
The girl behind the counter took the glass to fill it, but grumbled in disapproval.
I'm just saying this out of concern for you. You look exhausted these days. And the last lady to run this place, well, you know.
Rika!
Again, the glass hit the counter. A cigarette was lit.
Once you're done, you can leave for today.
What?
Do you want me to fire you?
The woman bristled with anger. But the girl named Rika only shrugged her shoulders.
Don't say that. If you deserted me, I'd be all alone.
The glass she placed on the bar didn't smell of the pungent alcohol. It was a white liquid.
The last owner of this place died from alcohol poisoning. I don't want that to happen to you. See you tomorrow.
There was the sound of high heels approaching. I darted behind the sign.
Huh?
Rika looked up and down the alley, bathed in morning light.
Sylvia?
I already knew who she was calling to by that name. Rika gave a heavy sigh, for the first time, and dragged her feet down the dirty street. It was only when she was finally out of sight that I made up my mind. I'd never heard how Sylvia had been brought up before she died. She was so shy and quiet. There wasn't much to say about her. She was the one girl I didn't hate. But now, I was going to steal her name. At first, I thought it was revenge. It had to be. Revenge against them for living better lives than me. And it was revenge against my own cruel fate. Step by step, I made my way through the half-open door into the shop and whispered, "Mama." The woman was slumped over the bar, the same as when Rika first left. She sluggishly hoisted herself up to look at me and shook her head as though she wasn't sure what she was hearing. I whispered once more, "Mama." That's when her barren eyes, laced with crow's feet, wrinkled in a squint.
Oh, so it's you.
She laughed with tears in her eyes.
You poor little thing. You look just the same as when you first came here.
Something about how she said that made her sound like Rika.
Where have you been? You've been gone for so long. What have you been doing with yourself? Here, drink up. You can have this. It's your favorite. I'll give you whatever you need. Anything at all.
There's a good girl. She cooed in a slow drawl, offering me the glass. I wonder if Sylvia was also served warm milk like this the first time she came here. "I'm sorry," I whispered for the first time to myself. I am Sylvia. Sylvia, with her purple bell. The little girl who was held close by Mama in a small downtown bar.
Okay. Wonder how you get that item. So weird. I have no idea. I guess we'll check out some of these areas here first. Okay, these are okay. Flash bulb. I really don't need it. And I'm not going back to the bonfire over one item. So. Oh, I guess the bonfire was right here. Oh, whatever. Does it matter? It's one flash bulb.
Maybe I'll sit down.
That'll probably come in handy later on. Or probably a tougher, slower enemy. Okay. Let's go this way. Actually, you know what? This looks like a longer hallway, so we're gonna check out the other stuff. We'll see what's straight ahead in here. Since this is more of a blocked off room. Okay. Go back to here real quick since I took quite a bit of damage.
So comfy. Wow, very cool.
Okay, now we'll check out, we'll go this way. This looks like another dead end. Yeah, it is. And I got a golf club, so that's cool. I'm not gonna deal with them. There'll probably be more robots down in this direction. Yep.
If the ID cannot be
Oh crap.
confirmed, you will be removed. If the ID cannot be confirmed, you will be removed. If the ID cannot be confirmed, you will be removed. If the ID cannot be confirmed, you will be removed.
I think that actually did damage to me. Oh, anyway, I guess some boxes are dangerous. Okay. Guess there's no going back.
The security's been activated. It's locked tight. Well, only one way to go. Forward!
Right.
I never did get that item that was on that ledge, but I have no idea how to even get it anyway.
Phew. I'm tired. Hey, could this be...
Everyone in town called the old writer who lived in this house a weirdo. The house was old-fashioned, and the walls seemed weighted with history. So little care and upkeep had been done to the place, it wouldn't be a stretch to call it a dump. The front door was always open, and not because it wasn't locked, but because there was no lock at all. Some would think that an invitation to burglars, but the place was such a mess that you'd lose all interest in stealing the moment you stepped inside. The house reflected its owner, an oddball, aged and in disarray. And this day, that oddball writer was laying in the middle of his hallway. For a moment I thought he was dead, but every once in a while, his finger would twitch, betraying signs of life. The bones in the back of his hands stood out, gnarled under paper-thin skin, but his slicked back hair looked young. The black framed glasses he habitually wore had stayed on, even after his fall. He'd probably worn those glasses so long that they were a part of his very being. And there he lay, weaving my way through the filth and the clothes and the furniture. I entered the house, and he didn't even notice.
Bisk!
He called my name in a gravelly voice. With each call, my body would shiver with surprise, and the bell would ring. It was a refreshing sound. The old man must have heard it too. He immediately leapt off the floor and turned his back to me.
Not another step.
The man almost spat out.
I don't want you coming near me.
And with that, he went back to the mountain of papers that buried what might have once been a desk. His hand never stopped moving as he scratched at his head. Believe it or not, he'd call out, drop to the floor, and do it all again. I was thoroughly baffled. And so I sat in the corner of the writer's room until night fell. The bell at my neck continued to tinkle lightly as I tilted my head. Can this man truly be Bisk's family? I came to check up on him every few days, but each time he'd act just as wild and nonsensical. When he wasn't throwing himself on the floor, he was completely immersed in his writing. Disturbed by his unnatural behavior, I tried my best not to allow my bell to ring, and so I stayed nestled in the corner until I finally heard the sound of a pen sliding across the desk.
Phew.
A loud sigh was immediately followed by a loud thud. He'd fallen backwards off his chair.
Finally, finished.
The way he breathed those words sounded so unlike his usual crazed tone. I lifted my head, and the bell chimed to him gently. With his back still on the floor, he let out a low moan.
Oh, Bisk. Bisk, my dear.
I was sure he'd yell at me to stay away again today, but instead he just lifted his thin, ghost-like arm and gestured to me. Just as I neared him, with my careful, steady steps, he suddenly grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and dragged me down with him. At first I went stiff with fear, but then I heard the beating of his heart. He gently closed his eyes and petted me.
Bisk, is that you? You've gotten so much thinner since I last saw you.
His bony hands were rough, but he petted me softly. As I sat there, unable to answer, the beating of his heart became softer and softer. He continued to coo at me gently.
Finally, I'm able to sleep.
His last words sounded more like he was speaking them from a dream. As the hand on me never wavered, I finally realized. My doubts were cleared. I understood now that this was the orange-belled Bisk's family. And as I gently closed my eyes, I could feel the sound of my own heartbeat, slowly melting free of its ice. I am Bisk. Bisk with her orange bell. The foster child who brings peaceful slumber to the master writer, whom everyone called crazy.
Feel free to ask should you ever have any need for my services. Well then, this is goodbye.
Okay.
No boy. Looks like a dead end. Guess he means business.
A dead end?
In other words, we're trapped in here.
I guess this is the end.
Huh? What's the matter? You're a guy, aren't you? It's too early to throw in the towel. Oh, I know.
What is it?
Would you... Well, would you like to hear my story?
Sure.
A long time ago. Long ago, there was a brilliant scientist who discovered, well, the secret of interaction. That is, how humans connect emotionally. The hidden ability to communicate without words. Way in the past, people could have connected with each other using that power. So a bunch of really smart scientists got together to study the idea. They thought if they could reawaken this power in everybody, We wouldn't have to use words to understand one another. They concluded that it'd make the world a better place. There were wars at that time. People argued and fought over little things and big things alike. Everything was a point of contention, and people grew tired of it. The whole world was unanimous in supporting the project. Using a machine they called Glass Cage, humans sent a signal around the world to try and trigger the latent empathy faculty in people's heads. This would enable everyone to naturally harmonize with one another.
After that, what happened?
Well, everybody was excited. Now that they could convey exactly what was in their hearts, all sorts of misunderstandings and ill will would vanish overnight. That's what they thought. The entire world was bubbling with hope. Everyone believed it was the dawn of a new era. They believed and believed and smiled themselves to sleep. But then, the next morning, no one woke up. They slept and stayed like that forever. That's how they all died.
And you think it's happening again?
Yeah. That girl? She's gonna be the catalyst for it.
Catalyst?
Her heart will make the connection and connect with everybody else on Earth. If it succeeds.
What if it doesn't work?
I told you. It'll be worse this time. Not a single soul will escape. And guess what? The first time around, I was the catalyst.
But, Sai, I don't get it. How did you end up as the catalyst?
Don't look at me. I have no idea. I lived a typical ordinary life. And then one day, they forced me to take all these tests. Before I knew what was going on, they decided to use me. They plugged all these cords into my head, made me take strange medicines. It was all very weird. I'm telling you, in all my days, I'd never felt such intense pain. It happened every day. More experiments. They didn't care at all how I felt. But there was this guy. He had a heart. Sometimes he'd slip me chocolates and candy. He'd even stop by and ask me if I was doing okay. And also, he thanked me nicely.
I see. So you and that guy, well, you were like friends.
You crack me up. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call Shin and I friends. If I had to label us, we were... Wait a minute. How'd that cat get in here? The door's still locked shut.
And the exit is blocked with rubble.
Quick! After him! He might lead us to a way out!
I found it! The cat's meowing on the other side.
If you crouch down, you should be able to fit.
Here goes nothing.
Okay. Well, looks like the cat went the other direction, but let's see what's over this way. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Grab that and we're leaving. Not dealing with those guys.
It's the same cat from before.
There he is!
How did he get here in the first place? Wait!
Okay, it doesn't look like any items in that one. Sort of surprising. Okay. Check the bonfire to get rid of these items. And follow the cat.
So comfy. Wow.
Though you're still so small, you'll soon be born. So this message is for you. There may come a day when you'll curse being born into this world. You'll wonder what you did to deserve this. And you'll probably have plenty of bitter words to tell me. But I don't think I'll be around by then to listen to your complaints. I want you to know how truly sorry I am. I just want you to believe this. No matter what happens, all we wanted was for you to be happy.
To-do list. 1. Eat a whole cake by myself. 2. Share a meal with my family. 3. Visit all the friends I can. 4. Read all the books I've wanted to. 5. Buy the clothes I always dreamed of. 6. Make up with that certain somebody. The silver bell wasn't a particularly outstanding decoration, but it did ring the most beautifully. I'd always wondered what kind of home such a lovely bell had come from. It belonged to an old woman who lived alone without relatives, in a large mansion I'd never seen before.
Madam, it's time for supper.
Thank you, dear.
Madam, the lilies in the garden have bloomed. I've put them in this vase.
What a lovely scent.
Madam, it started raining. Allow me to close the windows.
Yes. And draw the curtains, too.
The old woman was waited on hand and foot by her servants. She'd rely on their help as she sat idly in her chair, listening to her favorite music. She She'd even ask them to change out the records. But most of the servants seemed to genuinely adore their employer. But there was one thing the old woman would ask several times a day.
Excuse me, but could you call Chris here for me?
Later that same day.
Oh, where is Chris?
And again, even later.
Please find Chris for me.
Though normally obedient, this one request was always met with hesitation.
Madam, Chris is already...
The maids would start cautiously. Oh yes, you're quite right, the old woman would say, cutting them off.
She's not with us anymore, is she? I'd nearly forgotten.
She'd murmur with a nod, but not a few hours later, she'd ask the same questions again. She had them stop her favorite record.
Oh, wherever could my darling Chris be?
One rainy night, the mansion was in an uproar.
Madam? Madam!
The servants dashed through the halls in a frenzy. Finally, one of the maids shouted in despair.
Why can't I find her cane?
Though it wasn't too cold outside, the sheets of rain continued to pour relentlessly.
She couldn't have gone outside. Could she?
A chill passed over the gathered servants before they set out. They put on their coats and called for help outside. I tore my eyes from them and made for the rain-drenched town. Amidst the downpour, I smelled the sweet fragrance of lily. In the back lane of a park, far from the mansion, I made out the figure of the old woman. She was surrounded by a crowd who moved and gabbed around her.
Come on, lady, you'll catch your death out here. Maybe you should see the police.
The old woman's shoes and designer clothes were soaked through. A man tried taking her by the hand, but the old woman refused to budge, her face adamant. Fed up with her antics, the men finally left, leaving her behind. I cautiously stepped just into her field of vision, and without saying a word, rang my silver bell. It rang clear through the rain. The old woman raised her head sharply in surprise, her blurry eyes looking at me.
Chris?
The old lady rasped. I rang the bell again in a nod, and then turned around.
Chris, wait! Wait for me!
Her cane clicked as she followed me. I may not be able to carry her all the way to the mansion, but it'd be enough to bring her to her servants. I stopped often to look over my shoulder, to make sure I didn't lose her. The sound of that beautiful bell was a beacon. At last, one of the servants noticed the old woman and shouted, "Madam!" As she ran towards her, the old woman bent down to scoop me up and held me, trembling. The servants weren't able to hide their surprise, seeing how much the late Chris had changed upon her return. Not one of them said that I wasn't Chris, because the old woman called me so. The maids nodded in obedience, just glad that their beloved employer had returned home safe. I am Chris. Chris with her silver bell. I'm the tiny, adorable Chris, loved by her grandmother in this grand mansion.
Well then, where should we start? Have a nice day!
expected a weakling like you to make it this far.
What are you?
Hey, it's no use! Look out!
I do not have to answer to you. Any threat to the project must be eliminated.
There we go.
Fool. Your existence amounts to nothing more than a goldfish swimming upriver. When we were conceived, the age of man ended.
What? What are you talking about?
Our plan is on schedule. Make the most of the little time you have left.
We have to act fast!
Right. I guess the cat ran in here.
It'll be tight, but you can squeeze through. Be super careful.
Right.
Seriously, I have to do this thing crouched the whole time. Okay, so the cat's straight ahead. Let me check this dead end to see if there's anything. Might be an item or something. Okay, so that was basically a dead end, so there's no point even going down that way. Okay. At least we made it to the end of that.
Explain yourself, Sai. Why did you let a human in here?
First, you answer a question for me. Why are you reviving Glass Cage? What are you trying to do?
You don't need to know that.
Please, tell me the truth. If what happened last time...
Words can be frustrating, troubling things, Sai. I thought you, of all people, would understand.
But Shin, it's just that... if we could just talk, I know that I'd be able to...
That's enough. Soon, everything will be in order.
Why can't he... I don't understand. Why can't he see? Let's go save that girl. Seto.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is actually a pretty good spot to stop. And then we'll continue trying to rescue the silver-haired girl in the next episode. So I hope you all enjoyed watching this episode of Fragile Dreams Farewell Ruins of the Moon. If you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like or comment down below, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And other than that, I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye everybody.